The Civil War saw the use of hundreds of different weapons, different types of sabers, long rifles, explosives, and even handguns. There was a great many advancements of weaponry during this time of war. The beginning of the war saw the use of flintlock and percussion-style rifles to the eventual advancement to repeater rifles. Some of the most widely used weapons of the Civil War were the Springfield Model 1842, Springfield Model 1861, Pattern 1853 Enfield rifle, the Henry repeater, the Colt Model 1860 revolver, and then various different types of sabers and cannons. All around, there were over 1 million firearms that saw action, sat in armories, or were manufactured during the Civil War. The Union possessed most of the weapons present in the Civil War, with the Confederate forces only having around 1/3 the guns of the Union. As said before, some of the most popular weapons were different variants of Springfield long guns. This first started with mostly flintlock-style smoothbore guns. Flintlock was a firing mechanism that used a piece of flint and a hammer to spark a bit of black powder, which then sent the shot down range. Another system of weapon that eventually became more popular and saw widespread use was the percussion system. These were similar to the flintlock system, but instead of a spark produced by flint to ignite the powder, there was a little cap that was struck by the hammer. For some of these weapons, they would be packed with just one ball of lead, or a ball of lead and some buckshot. This was a method used to account for the poor accuracy of the weapons, and it was very effective at close ranges. Other varieties of these weapons shot something called the mini ball, which was much closer to the traditional rounds that we know of today. The mini ball firing weapons started to stray farther from the smoothbore barrels traditionally used, and adopted the now more common rifled barrel. The same phenomenon can be seen in baseball, soccer, or volleyball with the knuckleball. Ever notice how unpredictable their flight pattern can be? This is the same with the guns. With no spin, the rounds will fire unpredictably and very poorly. Flintlock and percussion-style long rifles, though most common, were not the only weapon used in the Civil War. Guns like the Henry and Spencer repeaters eventually saw good use in the war. They were not as powerful as their counterparts, but could send out far more rounds at a quicker pace. These weapons were often chambered in 44 cal rimfire or 56 cal rimfire. These were relatively new technologies in the scope of warfare. Self-contained cartridges were not very common at the time. These were both revolutionary weapons in build and in speed. The Spencer repeater was a break-action rifle, while the Henry was a lever-action. These systems are still quite often used nowadays, much more so than the muzzleloader style rifle. The most important part of each rifle, though, was the speed that they could fire. Muzzleloader rifles averaged about 2 to 4 rounds per minute, but with a skilled marksman with a Henry rifle, they could average nearly 30 rounds per minute. Though they were very, very fast compared to the muzzle-loading rifles, they were not the fastest rounds per minute firearms of the Civil War. That title belonged to the Gatling gun. Though it saw minimal use, the Gatling gun could fire at a pace of 350 rounds per minute, far higher than anything used before it. These guns were hand-cranked and used multiple barrels to counteract the overheating. As we know, firearms were used most out of any weapon in the Civil War, but they were not the only weapon. Sabers were carried by cavalry units, and many officers or those in high-ranking power. Sabers often used were the M1860 saber and the 1860 light cavalry saber, or whatever could be supplied quickly and easily to the soldiers. Eventually be used around the world. From the flintlock muskets, akin to weapons of this Revolutionary War, to the repeater rifles that are still around today, the Civil War saw a great change and a big step in the weapons of the war.